you will hear about the African Union. Yes, it exists. But what is the effect of the African Union in reality? We cannot talk about integration in the theme and not talk about the African Union. Because it is this organization that should unite us, create real integration. But we regret to see these wars that persist on the African continent.
This is not just another political speech. This is a declaration of war. Not with guns or bombs, but with words powerful enough to shake a continent. Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré just called the African Union useless. On camera, on record, and in front of the world. This shocking footage is now going viral. But what exactly did he say? And why are so many Africans agreeing with him? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might just change your perspective on Africa's future. It began as a routine briefing in Ouagadougou. Cameras were rolling, security was tight, and Traoré, dressed in his trademark fatigues, stepped to the podium. But this time something was different. He wasn't reading from a teleprompter. The room went quiet, the air tense. Journalists didn't know if they should report it or erase it. But the internet did what it does best. It erupted. So what drove President Traoré to publicly humiliate the most powerful intergovernmental organization in Africa? Sources inside the presidency reveal that Traoré was furious after the African Union remained silent following threats of military intervention by ECOWAS, the West African regional bloc. At a time when Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger were declaring their independence from foreign-controlled politics, Traoré expected support, or at least neutrality, from the AU. But instead, silence. No official backing. No support for sovereignty. No rebuke to foreign influence. Just silence. This wasn't the first time the African Union had disappointed Africans. Critics point to decades of inaction. From Libya's collapse to Congo's never-ending conflict, to the coups in Chad, Gabon, and Guinea, the AU has mostly watched from the sidelines. While foreign powers like France, the US, and China play chess on African soil, the AU has been largely silent. In the words of one analyst, the AU is a lion without teeth. It can growl, but it can't bite. And now, leaders like Traoré are done waiting. Enter the Alliance of Sahel States AES. Born out of frustration with ECOWAS and indifference from the AU, this alliance unites Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger under one goal: true African sovereignty. These nations have expelled French troops, rejected Western-imposed monetary systems, and begun to build their own military, political, and economic structures. And this alliance is gaining traction. Chad is watching. Guinea is listening. Even Ghana and Nigeria are facing internal questions about sovereignty and allegiance. Traoré's viral speech didn't just criticize the AU. It called for a new Africa. An Africa that answers to its people, not to external powers. The speech triggered responses across the continent. Dr. Arikana Kahambre-Kweyo, former AU ambassador to the US, applauded Traoré for his courage. In a live stream, she said, "He said what we've all been thinking. The AU has become a rubber stamp for the West." Rwanda's Paul Kagame, while more diplomatic, emphasized that the AU must redefine its mission or risk becoming irrelevant. Even South African activists are now demanding that their government push for AU reform or exit. Traoré, it seems, gave voice to a growing storm of dissatisfaction. "We took to the streets, from Nairobi to Lagos, from Accra to Bamako, and asked ordinary Africans what they thought. The answers? I support Traoré. The AU is a puppet," said one student. "Why do we need an AU if they can't protect us from economic exploitation?" asked a market trader. "Let them dissolve it and start something for Africans by Africans," said a teacher in Dakar. It's clear, the people are listening, and many of them are agreeing. What makes this moment historic is not just the speech. It's how it spread. YouTube Shorts, TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook Reels. Traoré didn't just break the internet. He reignited the Pan-African flame. Of course, this isn't without consequences. Critics say Traoré is reckless, that his words could isolate Burkina Faso, that it invites foreign interference, that it deepens continental division. But his supporters say the opposite, that Traoré is brave, that he speaks for the voiceless, that he is willing to risk his reputation to wake up a sleeping giant. Who is right? That depends on who you ask. But one thing is clear. The world is watching. Will the AU respond? Will African leaders rally for reform or dig in their heels? Will the AES grow into a new continental power bloc? Or will this be just another viral moment that fades? That, dear viewer, is up to all of us. Welcome to Stand Up Africa. This is your go-to channel for bold African stories, real news, and fearless truth. From politics to power moves, we spotlight Africa's rising voices. Subscribe and join the movement because Africa is standing up and the world is watching. Disclaimer. The content on Stand Up Africa is for informational and educational purposes only. While we aim for accuracy, we encourage viewers to do their own research. All opinions expressed are those of the creators and do not reflect official positions unless stated.
It's been 3 days since Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré addressed the nation. His speech was not televised, but since then, the country's communication minister has been lambasted over his choice of words. Now, if you are not from Africa, or have been living under the rock, here's what happened. They say the African Union is nothing but a talking shop, an elite club with no real power to change the lives of ordinary Africans. The president of Burkina Faso says the O is full of leaders who are puppets of the imperialists. He's calling for a complete overhaul of the continent's governing body. So what does the future hold for the African Union? This is a leader who is prepared to take risks to defend his country and his people. Over the past decade, it has managed to play a significant role in resolving conflicts across the continent. In Somalia, for example, the O helped to stabilize that country and defeat the Al-Shabaab militia. It also played a key role in ending the civil war in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So the O has set somewhat of a high standard for itself. And it can be frustrating for member states when the organization fails to live up to its own ideals. And by extension, he wants the African Union to do the same. So, why is the African Union still dragging its feet? Well, there are many reasons. For one, the O is a very bureaucratic organization. It takes a lot of time to get things done. Plus, the O is largely dependent on the goodwill of its member states. And right now, member states are not exactly feeling generous. Will it rise up to become a strong advocate for African interests, or will it continue to be a toothless bulldog that barks but cannot bite? In a shocking outburst, President Ibrahim Traoré called out the African Union saying, "It's an organization that is completely useless. The O, it must reform and become more responsive to the needs of its member states." And that is something we should all be grateful for. As President Traoré pointed out, the AU is supposed to be the champion of African causes. It should be the leading voice of the continent on the global stage. But right now, it's failing its people. And that's why his speech is a rallying cry for all Africans. Since he came to power through a military coup last year, he has faced immense pressure both at home and abroad. Here's what he said, and I quote, "We cannot continue to be spectators on the sidelines while our African brothers are being massacred in the Sahel. Do you think President Traoré had the right to call out the African Union like that? Should the O be dissolved as an organization? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates. Have a great day and see you next time. Thank you for watching. This is Africa News. It is unacceptable that we are witnessing the massacre of Africans by other Africans with weapons supplied by our so-called partners. If the African Union cannot protect its people, it is better to dissolve it. And those are very strong words coming from a leader who himself seized power through a coup. At home, he's battling an ongoing jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region. It's claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions more. Outside, he's facing condemnation and isolation from Western powers who accuse him of being an enemy of democracy. He further described it as neo-colonialist, saying it serves no purpose other than furthering the interests of the imperialists. Those comments were not made in a vacuum. They followed a failed summit by the African Union, which took place last weekend in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. It was supposed to be a meeting of African heads of state, but only 30 out of the 55 astronomical units members attended, and they could not reach consensus on some critical issues, such as the Russia-Ukraine war. Now some are saying President Traoré was spot on. Well, let's try to answer that question by first understanding why President Traoré even made those comments. So, when the African Union failed to condemn the West's illegal sanctions on Mali, he had reached a breaking point. Many are surprised by his outburst, but to me it makes perfect sense. Besides, the O is a victim of its own success. That said, the O cannot continue to be business as usual. Whether you agree with his methods or not, one thing is clear: President Traoré has put the issue of African unity back on the front burner. Well, folks, that is it for today. What are your thoughts on today's show?